All right, we're back. So I'm going to jump back into the PowerPoint. Next couple segments are, not as pertinent to the direct fisheries, but more just kind of addressing some issues around them. Just idea, solutions. So we'll jump back into that. You can see what I'm talking about. All righty. Fish and wildlife. I've heard in the meetings and whatnot on the funding issues, mainly I guess in resources available for the fisheries department to monitor and be as effective as I guess they want to be. And I want them to be as effective as they can be. I want accurate returns, active monitoring, things that keep fisheries open and not closed. So just a couple potential ideas for the department, and I'll be one of the first people to say that I'm not really on the idea. I'm not a big fan of the idea of giving the department any more funding per se. I don't want to pay any more because we've just the amount of opportunity that I've lost in my lifetime career as a fisherman is it begs the question, why would I pay any more to the department for what? We seem to be losing opportunity at a faster rate than we're gaining it. But I guess if the department wants to try to turn over a new leaf and try to enhance opportunities and continue fisheries, I realize that that requires money. So if that's the case, I'm willing to give them I wouldn't even call it a second chance. I'm willing to give them a 10th chance, I suppose. But in any event, I personally feel like general fishing license, especially for those that partake in salmon and steelhead fisheries, I feel like we could raise that, a little bit. The cost is relatively cheap for what you actually get if, you do any kind of serious fishing. I know in the course of the year, whatever, $50 or whatever, freshwater salmon and steelhead, that's relatively cheap, all things considered. I mean, look at any other hobbies out there. I used to do quite a bit of snowboarding until I watched my brother shatter his collarbone and, got some responsibilities and decided that maybe fishing's a little safer. I'm not going to, I theoretically shouldn't break my bones and, all of a sudden be out of work for, however long. But, hobbies like snowboarding, a season pass is like, 20 times a fishing license. But anyway, I also think that, in the department's case, with this being kind of a coastal regional thing, I think the implementation of like a steelhead stamp that would be ideally to fund only steelhead related things in that region, obviously, You know, I think something like that would make sense. There's a note I have on Steelhead draw system. You know, that's kind of more in the Puget Sound region. You know, there's some fisheries in there that we used to have that we lost that still seem like they have a fair amount of fish. You know, Green River, Puyallup River, things like that, where you could have maybe the numbers would, you know, potentially justify a very, very small amount of impact. You know, so maybe you do kind of like hunting seasons and, you know, offer out small, very small, limited, you know, maybe it's only 1 month. But I know there's some people out there that, you know, would just be drooling over an opportunity like that. So I think there's some potential for something like that to generate some funding and potentially benefit the fish within those regions. You know, those things have been out of commission for a while now. And, you know, we don't really get much information on those fisheries anymore. You know, it's kind of like just out of sight, out of mind, nothing to see over here. You know, I don't know. That's part of why I've been putting this together, is just because, you know, I've seen some systems fall to a similar scheme as the one it seems like is currently in play here. And I don't want to see the coastal rivers end up in the same categories that we have for the, you know, a lot of the Puget Sound rivers now, which is no fishing, no real stock update with the angling community, just closed. You know, another idea would be kind of like raffle, you know, auction period, I guess, you know, conservation type fundraising, you know, maybe offer, you know, I don't know, however, like a permit to fish a day or two on some of these systems, you know, in April, primetime slot, you know, got the whole river to yourself kind of thing. You know, I'm sure something like that could generate some funding. And then the bottom one here, this kind of ties back with the mortality rate aspect, just because part of that would probably potentially be angler error with fish handling and things like that would, you know, increase the odds of the fish dying. So maybe the department could implement, you know, kind of like almost like a hunter safety, but, you know, a virtual online course for, you know, how to properly handle fish. You know, just another means of, you know, making sure that, you know, the people out there are doing the right thing. And, you know, I guess you can make it a little harder. You know, people got to jump through another hoop to go fishing, but, you know, the people who really want to fish are going to jump all over that. But at least, you know, that everybody out there has gone through it and is aware of all the proper procedures and what have you. So anyway, just more or less idealistic things, not necessarily anything that's directly related with fisheries. So. All right, and then there's this, you know, the wild and hatchery thing. We've been dealing with this for quite a few years, which is quite interesting to see this, you know, the closures and how all of a sudden now a minimum mortality rate with a season at the front end when there's not very many wild fish is worse than all the hatchery fish that are going to be in the system, and all the things that we've been told are the worst thing ever. Now that's all just totally okay. It's kind of interesting, but obviously a lot of people feel differently about this. I think both of them are real essential. I think the hatchery fish are important. I think, in certain areas that draws a lot of the pressure and that keeps it off of the wild fish. The Cowlitz River, a lot of the pressure shift, happened with the elimination of the early hatchery steelhead on the Cowlitz. And I saw that. I actually went to the meetings back. I don't know. It was like maybe 2010, somewhere in that time frame. Drove down. I think it was in Centralia, maybe, but I attended it was a WDFW Tacoma Power presentation on the ESA listing of the steelhead, and they had a slide and a presentation, and it was interesting because there's 4 stocks in the Cowlitz system that they have this protection for, and 3 out of the 4 are above the barrier dam. So the department literally has to separate them and transport them past. So 3 out of your 4 stocks, you can control the hatchery and the wild interactions. So it's like, well, 3 out of 4, why don't you just manage the wild part above it and, just let the one below barrier dam, which I'm sure isn't that substantial, just kind of run its course. You can manage the lower fishery with all the hatchery fish, which is good for the whole regions. But that wasn't good enough, which is interesting because they were actually mixing hatchery fish with the wild fish above the barrier dam. But when I asked them about that, they said that they didn't care. They didn't care if the wild fish was the offspring of hatchery fish spawning, as long as it was a wild fish, something like that. Anyway, but just a point, and I mean, it's really a dangerous subject, and I think a lot of it has to do with it's a good excuse not to pay money to raise more fish. You can only raise so many because you can't have too many for the wild fish. Just seems like that is a good excuse. And in the case of the Cowlitz, that was just it. They had a smolt maximum they could plant. They couldn't plant any more than that. That was their ESA regulation. Well, if you're Tacoma Power, I don't know. I would surely think that, you'd be all for that, right? Because now, instead of planting close to 1 million fish, you only have to plant 500,000, or whatever the case may be. But anyway, and then the wild recovery. I mean, there's a lot of quote unquote bare canvas rivers to work with. I mean, the Nisqually hasn't had any hatchery fish for years and years and years, and it's been closed for years and years. Seems like a great place to use as a model. Get rebound that fishery, get it going, and figure out what works. Use that for a template. There's many others that fit that same category. It'd be nice to see this. I'm all for wild recovery. but it'd be nice to see it focused in a key location and, you know, carried through where you can actually see the results. Seems like right now we just kind of have a sprinkling all over and none of it's really amounting to anything, because 30 years is plenty long enough to get a return. You know, it shouldn't take hundreds of years to see results. So anyway, just a brief segment with that. And then the last one, you know, everybody knows predation is a problem. Doesn't seem like anybody does anything about it. One thing, you know, in my case of fishing predominantly in the Chehalis, there's a substantial number of northern pike minnow in there. Apparently they're supposedly native, but there's a lot of them. I don't know if fisheries monitors their population in there or not, but I have to believe those things do a pretty good toll. And in the case of the Chehalis, which is struggling, I don't know if maybe implementing something to curtail that wouldn't give you a direct positive enhancement. So I just thought I would note that, because when I've fished up in the upper end up there, we've caught a lot of them. And, you know, obviously those that are familiar with the Columbia River system, you know, potentially aware of the, what do you call it? I don't know. They pay you for dead squawfish down there. So anyway, yeah, it'd be nice if somebody could manage the, maybe the tribe, I don't know, manage the marine mammals. You know, everybody knows those are a problem. So anyway. All right, and so yeah, that's pretty much all I really have for my segment here. So I appreciate anybody and everybody who took the time to listen to me talk. I know I'm probably not the best speaker. This is the first time I made a PowerPoint, probably 15 years back when I was in high school. And I don't do social media, not real big on that stuff. So, you know, talking to a computer camera is, you know, a little out of my nature, but I just wanted to touch on some of the things that I've seen here and kind of get those out there and make, you know, I don't know if, like I said, there's poor representation, I feel like, for a lot of people in the town halls, and it just seems like the department's a little out of touch with the fisheries and how they're actually going on. And so I just wanted to get some of these ideas and thoughts out there, you know, for people to think about. So yeah, if anybody wanted to contact me, you can shoot me an email. My email is jeffek1@yahoo.com. I should have put it on my PowerPoint slide, but I didn't. So I'll write it on a piece of paper if anybody's interested in communicating at all with me. So there you have it. And again, thanks for anybody that took the time to go through this. I would like to hear from the department on a few of the key things. The quilliute allocation thing, I'm a little confused with that. I'd kind of like to know a little more about that. The potential for, the modeled fishery, the percentages on the month-to-month basis, I'd maybe like to see what the actual, information is and what the numbers the department has for, the the SATUP or the Skookumchuck and the Wainuchi, what the total number breakout on that is. So yeah, I think that's everything. And I would just say, I'm not trying to, I don't want anybody to take my information, which I don't know how accurate it, it is. It's just speculative. I don't want anybody to attack the department. I'd like to give them a chance to respond and kind of see what they have from there. So yeah, that's what I got. So thanks for listening. All righty.